Good morning. Wow, you all look so vibrant. Well, first of all, let me say that thank you to everyone from Lyft. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. I am a mother of 8. I have 4 boys and 4 girls. I have 13 grandchildren. I had one at home at the time I started Kids Off the Block. Her name is Aisha. She was 13 years old. She was running with her little pack of 9 kids from 13 to 15, boys and girls. And the only way I could keep up with her was to, trail her. She didn't like it. I took them fishing and swimming and to the movies because I knew what was out there. And she was my last one, so I wanted to make sure that I kept on the right track for college. After doing all that, I realized that the boys in the group were being accosted by gangs. So my mom saw the relationship I had with these young people. And she said, Diane, why don't you do something with those kids? They like you, they respect you. And I was like, no, to myself, because I don't say that to my mom. I was like, no, I don't want to do this. And she said, really, you should do something with them. And, but I was thinking in the back of my mind, Aisha would be 18 in 5 years, and I would be free. I wouldn't have to do anything else. She'd be going to college. Well, it didn't work out like that. I literally went in my house and prayed for 3 days. Lord, is this what I'm supposed to do? And I watched Aisha and her friends play up and down the block. And on July 15th, I went outside to her and her 9 friends, and I said, if I started something in the house, would you guys participate? Mind you, I knew nothing about an organization. I knew nothing about an EIN number. I knew nothing about programs, nothing. And I had no clue as what I was going to start in my living room. But what got me was they all started jumping up and down saying, I want to be a lawyer. I want to be a singer. I want to be a basketball player. Well, that let me know they wanted to do something, but they just didn't know how. So I took them into my living room, started writing them little corny raps. I mean, they were really corny, but they were positive though. And I invited their parents in on Friday nights, and they got to see them perform these corny raps. And it was amazing. They were so proud of the kids. The kids were so proud of themselves. I was done. I was stuck. That was it. So they started coming into my living room every day, all day. The next thing I knew, I had 20. Then I had 25. Kids I didn't know, mind you. I didn't know these other kids coming in. Those kids told those kids. Then I sold my family TV to get 6 used computers because I realized they were failing in school. They needed help with homework, research, essays. They just, they needed all kind of help. And me and my husband kind of had rough times during that time because that was his TV. And he didn't like that. And he was like, what's wrong with you? Why are you doing this? So I opened up my dining room, and then there were 30, and then there were 35, and then there were 40, and then I opened up my bedroom, and then I got some donated used music equipment because all the kids wanted to rap at that time and do music. And then there were 50, and then there were 60 and 70. And then we couldn't move in our little 3-bedroom apartment. And my husband said, Diane, that's it. There is no more room. I want my bedroom and my bathroom. And that's how I stopped bringing the kids into the house. But when I realized how many kids were in my house, they were gang members, they were dropout kids, they were homeless kids, they were just kids who needed somewhere to go. Once I started talking and being involved in their lives, there was 6 gangs in my house at one time. It was crazy, and I was having the time of my life with these young people because they were trusting me. A mom, they were trusting me with their lives. And by the way, it's the most rewarding thing I've ever done in my life. I wouldn't do anything else. I quit my job to do it. But when I realized what was going on with all these young people and they were trying to escape the environment of poverty, of the economics, of the home situation, they didn't know how to deal in school because they had their lives going to school was so tormented. And I'm not making excuses for them, but what I'm telling you is reality. Is what they had to deal with. I don't know if I want to be a teenager in this time. And I just wanted to help. Simple as that. Roseland has 98% black. It has 98% free lunch program. So the poverty is, I say it's beyond poverty, because then with that comes a hopelessness of nothing's going to get better. A lot of abandoned buildings, vacant lots. There's nothing there for our young people, which I'm constantly fussing about and trying to get something done, to show them that we care, that we love them, that we do invest in them. There's nothing there. Nobody wants to listen because they think they're all gang members and they're all bad kids. And I'm trying to, reverse that. Those young people that come into my house, they were looking for something, for somebody to say, it's all right, not judge them, but listen. And then say, how can I help? Am I disciplinary? Yes. I tell them they can't do certain things. I've had gang leaders arrested in front of my home. My mom and I have had bricks thrown on the porch at us from other gangs. My van has been shot up. And still, I would do whatever I can to help those young people who want help, who want to do better with their lives. They're the victims and they're the perpetrators of violence. Because when you're hopeless, you just don't care. It's just simple as that. There's no way to mask that. When you feel you're not going to live to 25, you just don't care. My job is to restore that hope. Not only as a resident of my community, but as a mom. As a person who's in my community who wants to help. I have so many issues with people who don't understand that they were once young. The only way we got to the age we are is that we were once young. And Lord knows I had my issues growing up. I thought my mom was the enemy because she didn't want me to do certain things. I couldn't see. My mind wasn't at that point. And so I rebelled, and I did crazy things. Thank God she continued to love me anyway. The people on my block continued to support me. They opened their doors for me, and I never forgot that. My mom was a single mom, so she needed all the help she could get. And that's the way I feel about the young people that I service. When you go to talk to their parents, most of them, the fathers are locked up. The moms are trying to work hard, got a lot of kids, or else it's another way around. The moms are on drugs, or, it's just crazy. Grandparents are raising them, or some of them are raising themselves. I remember I was trying to pump them up and tell them, just go to school, and work at McDonald's, and, in 10, 15 years you'll be, but they go back home and there's the drug dealer with the big box Chevy and the new ones on every day and the money in his pocket. And I'm telling him to do this. Just doesn't work. I don't know if many of you knew that about when the president came last Friday. I was there. I was one of those screaming, he should come. Not so much as he could do. He could if he wanted to, but not so much as that, but the hope to restore to a people who is losing hope because of the violence. And I'm one of them. Although I fight every day, it cringes me to think that these young people are killing themselves. That memorial you saw in the video started in May of 2007. A young man named Blair Holt was killed on the bus. He was coming home from school. He was an honor student at Julian High School. And a 14-year-old got on the bus, sprayed the bus, and he was trying to protect his classmate next to him, and he was killed. His father's a police officer, his mom is a fire captain. And so it was big news. And so we were getting calls to march, to rally, to meet, and I really got frustrated because it's not working. And I was in Home Depot and I saw those stones, and I said, wow, they look like headstones. I want to do something to, enrage my community and make them pay attention to all the young people we're losing. Well, I only had enough money for 30, so I bought 30. Blair was the first to go up. There are now 376 stones. We're behind 200. On March 11th, Howard University students are going to come and help us to rebuild it for the 10th time because it's continually growing. And I'm still frustrated because as the memorial grows, there still isn't an outrage. There still isn't. There's an outrage over gun control. But the gun control that they're talking about, personally to me, will have no effect on those that are in my community. Because they're not getting their guns from the workshops. I mean, from the gun shops, I'm sorry. They go right down the street. And they can buy them quickly. The 14-year-old that came and knocked on my door for help went right down the street, got his gun. The 20-year-old that came and sat in my house with the gun in his pocket, he just stopped by my house, you know, to talk to me. And he was a big influence on a lot of kids. They was actually scared of him. You know, I knew about the stories about him. I was leery of him myself, you know. But he came and sat down and talked to me for 2 hours. I had no clue that he was getting ready to go shoot someone because they had jumped on his sister. But in those 2 hours, I told him about he was a leader. He was a negative leader, but he was a leader. And imagine if he had turned that around, became a positive leader. He did just that. He did just that. He went right back home, put his gun up, and 2 years later, he's a mentor on his block with all the boys, leading them to school and taking care of them. It's as simple as that. It's as simple. We got so much technology, and Lord knows you all know how much technology we have, but we don't have any communication. I'm scared to go next door to the lady on my block and say, hello, how you doing? That's how our communities are going. Although I do it, personally I do it anyway, you know, whether they like it or not, I just barge right in. Because that's the only way I'm gonna get to live peaceably on my block, is to help those young people and to get to know the people who are around me so I can help them or they can help me. I might need help. What makes me keep going, the hope, even though I get frustrated, sometimes I get really downright angry. And I've been on Facebook. Nobody pays me any attention, of course. They know I done already went off. But I do. But what keeps me going is the fact that I'm more scared not to do anything. I'm more afraid to just go in the house and close my door and live my life. It's easy for me to do that. I'm 56 years old. I could just be a grandma and, you know, live out my senior years. Well, I'm not gonna do that. I want to go out and sit on my porch. I want my mom to walk the block. I want my grandkids to come over there in safety. So if I just do my little part, then I feel all that'll happen. And it has. It has. I was invited to Dubai. When I first got the email, I canned it because I said, this is a scam. Who would invite me to Dubai? So I canned it. So a few months later, I got an email again to come, and I'm like, I told my daughter, I said, is this real? She's like, Ma, it's real. So, we answered the email, and come to find out it was the prince. And he had invited me, he had saw me on CNN, and he invited me to Dubai. And wow, I was so honored, and I co-chaired in Abu Dhabi one of the women's conferences for college students. And up there on that stage, if you'd have seen the women that were on that stage, I was looking down there like, wow, so what do I talk about? And it came to me, you just talk about you know, what you do. So I did that, and when it was over, a lot of you know, we all have our perception of how it is over there. You know, we look at the news, we read, and so I had my own little, they were terrible perceptions. When it was over, the young women, a crowd of them came and ran up and they surrounded me. And I was like, okay, what's going on? Because you know, you can only see their eyes. So I was like, what's going on? And so the teacher said, they love your story. that you are a mom, that you built a business, that you help people, that you're married. And I said, why? And they said, because they have to get permission to do things. And so, man, they surrounded me, they were crying, and I was crying, and I was like, wow, see, the perception I had, I took over there with me of those people. And they were just like me. You know, they were young women who had dreams and goals and wanted to do things in life. And I was able to do it. And I said that to say, our perceptions can skew us. What we see in the news every night is not what it is. It's a lot of people in my community who are doing awesome work, and they're doing great things, and we're making progress, but you never see it. You never see the kid who changed his life. You never see the young girl who decided to go to college for the first time out of her family. You never see the good works that they do, because the TV tells us otherwise, or the articles. But there are good things going on in our communities, and I'm proud to be one of them who is helping. I was speaking before Mayor Daley retired. I asked him, I said, why do all the resources stop at 95th Street? And he said, really? And I said, yes. He said, well, Diane, what do you need? I said, I need support for our young people. I need you to believe in our young people. Those who don't believe in themselves need us to believe in them. I said, our community needs help. And then when Mayor Emanuel came, I told him the same thing. So what happened out of that was the fact that they realized that everybody in Roseland was not these thugs and urban terrorists and people who didn't care. It passed on to the next mayor, and then it passed on to the people who are around him. And so they do act now, and they do try to help. Do I wish they'd do more? Yes. Do I wish I could do more? Yes. I'm one of those people, they tell me all the time, you can't save all of them, and I say, why not? I just believe so. I believe in miracles, I really do. Mainly because I am one. My heart and my passion, at age 46, I don't know why God gave me that, and I do believe he gave it to me, because I don't believe I'd have done it on my own. I could have just did what I was doing. But I'm one of those people who just believes that my little part can make a difference. And indeed it has. Day before yesterday, we had some young men come in, and they were talking about they have misdemeanors on the background, so it's hard for them to get a job. And they were like, it don't make no sense. We ain't gonna be able to do this, and we ain't gonna, and my heart just fell for them. But I decided to tell them, I had a misdemeanor once. Yeah, right, Miss Diane, you ain't had no, what did you do? It was a disorderly conduct. I wouldn't shut up. The police officer got mad at me. So, you know, and it was on my background, you know, when I was younger or whatever. But did that stop me? No. They say it's different for black males, though. And I say, no, it's not. Same thing, on paper. It shows up. Same thing. Your determination, though, is different. If you are determined besides that, and despite of, that you can make it, and you want to do something with your life, you'll fight it, and you do what you're supposed to do. Can I see a show of hands how many believe that gangs are what's happening with the violence? So, okay, how many believe it's poverty? I wish I could have took a picture of you all. because all I hear is that it's gangs, that it has nothing to do with poverty, that these young people are nothing but pimps of the hood, and, you know, trying to get hood rich and all that. And no one wants to delve in the fact of where they come from and, you know, reasons why. And, you know, so I myself believe the same thing because I live it. I live right there in the midst of it. I've been to so many meetings to hear about why we do what we do, and that includes myself, why people in these areas do what they do, by people who don't live in my area and don't know why I do what I do. I've been called crazy. I've been called eccentric. And I've been called some names I can't repeat. But in all, this is all I want to do. I just want to make sure that young people have the opportunities across the board and resources and tools to make it. Now, if they mess up, if they don't take the opportunities, or if they don't, say, I'm going to take all the resources I can and try to make it, and if that's their decision, there's nothing I can do about that. But I want to make sure that I did everything possible to help them. My mom raised 5 of us. I'm the oldest. I was raised with her. She was a baby when she had me, so, we grew up together. But one thing I watched her do, and that was persevere. She just continually, no matter what came up against her, she fought for it. She believes in everything her children does. Everything that we do, I don't care how crazy, as long as it's right. She will not accept anything that's not right. But if we're trying to do something that is right, she's our #1 cheerleader. But that's the way I want to feel towards the young people. I don't want to judge. I don't want to be their savior. I just want to be a part of the bigger picture where they can come to me, which they do. Some come at 1 o'clock at night, some call at 6 in the morning. We bought coats and hats and shoes so they can go to school, which I love, because to me that's the basic. It doesn't take this big $1 million plan to reach our young people. A 16-year-old said to me once, because I knew he was one of their top gang members, he was being made. And I heard about it, so I saw him on the corner, so I went over there, and he knew of me, but he didn't know me, and he said, "You want something, lady?" And I said, "Yeah, I want to talk to you." I said, "Can I talk to you?" And he said, "Oh, lady, what do you want?" And I said, "I want to talk to you, because the only way I'm going to live in my community in peace is if I talk to you and help you and offer you." He said, "You can't do nothing for me." So he started walking, so I started walking behind him. And he looked behind. He said, "Oh, lady, you need to go home." And I said, "I am, as soon as I talk to you." And he turned around and said, "What is the problem?" And I said, please, just come see me. Just let me." I said, "Really?" I said, I believe I can help you." He said, "I don't need your help." He said, "I'm making dollars." And I said, "Yeah, but imagine if you could sleep at night making those dollars." And he just looked at me. 2 weeks later, he showed up at the door. And I was like, "Yay!" And he's been doing good ever since. He's had altercations with the gang members because of his decision to do that, but he's doing a lot better. And that's it to me. That's it to me. Didn't cost me nothing. Didn't make me feel threatened. It didn't do anything to me. It just made me feel like, wow, yeah, I can help. A mother from Roseland, grandmother from Roseland, can make an impact. And it's a feeling that, it's like when I first fell in love with my husband, it's this feeling, that overtakes you, that you took somebody off the street and you helped them, and then they come back and they, "Miss Diane, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be blah, 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 blah. Thank you. But if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be able to live here in peace. And I wouldn't be able to do the things that I do if it wasn't for those young people. They make me feel so energized. They make me feel so young. They keep me going all the time. They do more for me than I do for them, I believe. I'm really excited about the fact that coming into this year, 300 more young people have signed up for this Kids Off the Block because of all of what they heard. I'm very excited about that. I'm trying to do everything that I can myself, and I have a core of people around me who are volunteers, who work their off to help young people without pay, without salaries. just because they love what they do. And there's nothing like it. I want to leave you guys with one thing. Back in 2001, and a lot of people don't know this about me because I don't share it, but my oldest son, he'll be 40 this year, he was shot. He was shot twice. He was shot by quote-unquote friends in the back of his car. He was shot twice in the neck with a big gun. And when I walked into the hospital and I saw my son laying there and he was not, you know, they didn't know if he was going to make it. And immediately I said, Lord, you know it's in your hands. But as a mom, it literally like tore something out of me. He lived. He lived. Thank you, Lord, he lived. But what came out of that, I didn't know anything about KLB at this point. I didn't know I was going to do this or nothing. What came out of that was this. I cannot imagine losing a child. I can't even fathom it. To violence, just because somebody felt like it, just because you were shooting at somebody else and I was in the way, and you take not only from that child, but you take that family and turn everything around, and then that family goes back to their community and their blocks, and that's in turmoil because you got 2 and 3 families on one block who've lost kids, 10 maybe in a community, or because somebody made a decision to shoot. I cannot imagine. I can't even fathom it. I can't wrap my head around that. To not help those young people who would do that. We're going to continue to see this pattern. Well, not only the ones that did the shooting, but the families of the ones that have been shot, but the ones that did the shooting, their families also suffer. They lost a child. So you've got all this going on, all these families just down and out and don't know how to deal with all this thing. In the community, there's a lot of work to be done. Our communities need everything that they can get and more. And I ask that you, please, when you look at us, when you look at all that on TV, remember that we're there, we're working, we're helping. It's a lot of us too that believe, and we are helping the families, by the way, on both sides. Thank you.